Welcome to the H&H Connect podcast. I'm Darrin Stern, your host. This month, I'm sitting down with Heidi Kaisand, the owner of Hen Chick Studios, and also the passionate entrepreneur behind Creative Retailer magazine. Heidi will share her journey from a childhood passion for quilting to becoming a multifaceted entrepreneur in the creative industries. Our conversation covers topics such as business decisions, innovations, trends, and the importance of finding inspiration in various places. I'm glad today to have our dear friend Heidi Kaisand here from Creative Retailer magazine and also the owner of Hen Chick Studio. Welcome, Heidi.
Good morning, Darrin. How are you today?
Oh, it's very lovely. I'm not a big fan of going in the wintertime here, but that is life, right? I live in the Chicago area. You just got to deal with the cold.
That's absolutely right. But there's so much bright and sunniness that's ahead of us in the months as well. So you got to focus on those things.
Very, very, very true. What I'd like to do today, I appreciate you coming on the show today. And my goal is to kind of learn a little bit about you. We're going to share about your business and most importantly about ideas, trends, how you make business decisions, practical tips for our listeners. And we're going to kind of move through, I'm going to say a loose conversation today. But first, if you can give people a short kind of background, what's the elevator pitch on who you are and how you got to your spot in life?
Oh, you bet. And I will try to keep it short, but let me just start by saying that I started quilting when I was 9 and my grandmother taught me to quilt. And if I could tell you anything about my entire career, it probably all stems back to those things that grandma taught me. And we could get into all sorts of details, but let's just say that we did not have rotary cutters at the time that I started quilting. So I have learned a lot in the few years that I have been quilting. So for me, quilting is a passion. I never thought that it would actually be my profession. The same grandmother thought I should be a dietitian in a nursing home. And I can now look back and tell you that she's probably right because I love helping people. But instead, I went down a path of developing recipes for cookbooks. And that led me to Better Homes and Gardens, or Meredith Corporation in Des Moines, Iowa, when I graduated from school. But it didn't take very long, and they realized that I had all sorts of other skills, like I was a cross stitcher, I was a quilter, and I understood, I'll say, the basics of making things. So I very quickly very gladly got pulled into craft titles. And so, in fact, one of the first books I edited was Jo Packham in her Vanessa Ann cross stitch years. And I love that Jo is still in the industry as well. But I then became the editor of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine and took care of all the quilting titles that came out of Better Homes and Gardens. So Quilt Sampler, Quilts and More, Quilt Lover's Favorite, The Calendar, American Patchwork and Quilting, which is celebrating 30 years. All of those came out of my department. And I lived and breathed helping the consumer have their free time be wonderful time. And I liked that. But life comes along, kids come along, and I ended up switching to a job with APQS. And I say that slowly even today because I was at APQ for 17 years, and then I had to add an S. So APQS, which is Long Arm Quilting Machines. I was their national sales manager for 7 years. Again, a great example of another part of our creative industry of watching people finish their quilts. And oh, do people have thread fetishes like you could never imagine. So I learned all about small business manufacturing and that part about sales reps and the importance of sales reps. Again, a great part in the industry. But again, family's at the top of my list, and it kept coming back that I needed to be around more. So of course, the next thing made sense to open a quilt shop. And so in 2011, 12 years ago, I opened a quilt shop in Conrad, Iowa, where I could pull together all of my passions in all the different areas. And I have been operating Hen Chick Studio, which is a full quilt shop plus retreat center, which I happen to be sitting in at the moment, where we cater to both quilting and scrapbooking, as well as anybody who's being creative in their endeavors. They can stay for literally hours or days or weeks, as some of them do, to be creative. And then because I couldn't keep my hands out of helping people or the magazine business, in 2015, I purchased American Quilt Retailer, which is a trade publication for independent retailers. But again, in the need to help even more people and to reach farther, just over a year ago, we secured the trademark to Creative Retailer magazine so that we can encompass not just quilt shops, but also the yarn shops that are out there, any small business that is trying to make their business better. So there we are. Here I am today.
Just a complete Renaissance woman who been there, done that, tried that kind of opportunity.
Yes, I absolutely believe that what's the worst that's going to happen if I try something? And I've used that philosophy a lot in both of my businesses is what is the worst that's going to happen? And what could happen if I really did try that and succeeded? So I'm sure we'll talk more about, I'll say, how we run businesses around here, but that is something that I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen? If I buy those 10 bolts of fabric, what's the worst that's going to happen? If I hold that event, what's the worst that's going to happen? But also, what's the best? Think how many kits I could make. Think how many people might come. So there's definitely a trial and error with all of that.
Wonderful. Next topic I'd like to kind of dive into with you is innovation and trends. As you said, you've been around the retail environment, you've been on the manufacturer supply side, you've been on a publication side. So you've kind of seen things from a number of different lenses. If you were to look at that innovations and trends, a little bit of where we've been, but more importantly, where do you see the industry going and where we need to maybe challenge our fellow owners, our fellow entrepreneurs of what to do differently? Like, what should we all be coming in like that next 5-year horizon? 10 years might feel a bit long, but it gets there before you know it.
Oh, because so many things change. When we go to bed tonight, it's all going to be different, right? When it comes to innovation, I think creative people, no matter what part of the, again, whether they're quilting segment, yarn segment, paper segment, whatever part of that they're in, the innovation is just that constant churning of new ideas and putting things together differently. And I am inspired that we see that over and over. Every time I go to a trade show and see that somebody has come up with a different tool, a different way to do something, make the process easier, more fun. I was going to say funner, but I don't think that's a word, that we do all of these creative passions because we love it, not because we have to. So the innovations that I think really keep us moving forward are those that are pushing us to do things, I'll say a little bit differently and to try different things. And so to me, that is exciting. But I think what's even taking those innovations farther and where in the next 5 years where we're going to be going is how video plays into those innovations, because at the touch of a button, I just pick up my phone. I mean, we can Google and we can learn how to do something. And so to me, innovation is going to take a step further of not just the product that we're creating, a pattern, a fabric, a notion. Any of those things. How are we going to communicate that to our customers? That to me is where I think the excitement can really get me going, because there are so many different avenues of how people are reaching us. How do they refer to it? It's noise, right? We have all this noise going on, and we have to figure out how to clear that noise out and how to make sure that the person we want to use that innovation is getting that information. And to me, that's exciting.
And would you say, like, as he's talking about, like the digitization of the world and like the world living on a phone, everyone, I have young kids, the head's in a phone, but you as a shop owner, right? So you can put on your shop owner hat for a moment. I assume your shop is still doing well, right?
Yes.
You're still doing it. So as much as things are digital and people are getting solutions online or shopping online, has that technological trend and innovation, it's definitely affected your business, but maybe how has it changed your business so that maybe it's not a detriment, that it's actually been an accelerant?
Oh, absolutely. So, and like one of the things is I have a brick and mortar with an online presence. People are still walking in the store. They want to touch things. It's tactile. They want to see the color. They want to be involved in the process of making their item. They want to come up to the retreat center and actually sit down and make things. So where that technology gets us is getting the information to them so they know about us, that they know about those things. Even if I so often say that when I do a live video, I'm never worried. I'm never worried if there's only 5 people on the video, right? And it never bothers me as to how many people are watching at that very second, because I know that they're watching, and many times at their own convenience. And then when the customer comes in the store and says, with a notepad and says a sticky note and says, you said this, you showed that, I know that that technology and that innovation of reaching them is critically important to my brick and mortar business as well. And that's exciting to me.
And do you find that, is there any difference in, say, the customer coming in? Is there a different type of customer now maybe finding you, or a different age of customer finding you or interacting with these products?
Yeah, I do not see, I still would tell you that the mass of our customers are 45 to 70-ish, and probably even closer to 80 these days. I mean, like people are living longer, staying busy longer, all of that kind of stuff. I would say that because we have downloads and we do some stuff online, that it's still the same customer for me that's online. It's just that I'm making it more convenient for them to get what they want. So if they're a full-time working person, working woman, they don't have to try to get to my store during business hours. They can order it. They can, have it shipped to them very conveniently, or they can, watch things at their convenience when they have time to do that. So I don't think it's a detriment, any of that. I just think it has expanded my reach also well beyond Conrad. Conrad's a town of 1,100 people. And I always say this, and this is true. Nobody goes through Conrad to go anywhere. Okay. We're literally a mile off a main road. Nobody goes through here. So I have to figure out how to get them here or get myself to them.
Very true. While reaching people and being your own best cheerleader is
Yes.
so important. But as you were mentioning, like the challenges, like the things that you're talking about, like the challenge of, like, you have a certain customer, you have a challenge of a physical location. As you look towards finding solutions, do you have things that you're thinking about, or maybe as you see when you put your publisher hat on and you're saying, okay, across the industry, like how is this industry going to reach the new quilter, the new sewer, the new crossover artist? Because maybe they're a crocheter and a knitter, but we want to introduce them to a fabric sewing project.
Yep. And when we're talking about somebody new, it doesn't mean to me a specific age, right? Because everybody at some point has to come into the industry. So I look at life events as often bringing people into a store and I'm going to be specific right now about quilting, because if you want to say, I know what they're going to come into. So to me, there's a couple major life events. Babies. They're either having a baby, so now we're talking about somebody in their 20s, or they're having a grandbaby. So now we're talking about somebody that could be anywhere from 40 to 70, right? That is having a baby. So they want to cuddle that baby in something soft. So it might be a simple blanket, receiving blanket. So I try to make sure I have projects and products, both, that are aimed at somebody who maybe has minimal sewing skills. So on my website, I have a free receiving blanket pattern that they can download. I have the materials in the store to do flannel and cuddle type receiving blankets, soft, kinds of things. So there's that life event. And of course, it goes well beyond that, like baby panels, books, fabric books, all sorts of things that could be brought in. Then I think of graduations, t-shirt quilts. All right, t-shirt quilts are not something that a lot of people realize. I think that those of us who've been quilting a long time, that is a major reason people start quilting, because they've seen these quilts that are made out of t-shirts. And they've got somebody graduating, they've got somebody going off to college that they want to send a blanket with, or maybe they have life experiences. Maybe they're concert goers. I've got a couple here in town that it's their 25th anniversary and they're going to 25 concerts. Hey, those 25 t-shirts are going to make a perfect quilt kind of thing. So there's lots of reasons like that. And then the third one is actually weddings. So again, we have the younger person. They want a signature quilt. They want to read a different way to capture people's names at the wedding itself, the ceremony. Or they want some particular piece included on a mantle or on the tables. Or you've got the mother or the mother-in-law that has their children and they want to make a wedding quilt, a gift, lots of showers to go through. So those three major life events are, to me, something that bring people in. So instead of promoting my store like, oh, look, I've got 1,000 bolts of fabric. Aren't these pretty? Come on in. Okay, that can be overwhelming to somebody who has absolutely no idea what to do. But instead, if I say, oh, you want a receiving blanket for a baby? I got this right here for you. Here's a kit, or here's the items. Keep it simple. Then you get them in the store and you don't feel like they're overwhelmed by everything else and all the possibilities of where they could go next.
Yep, I 100% love that. And even I would say my gateway entry into my local quilt shop was with my daughter, because in her middle school, she takes a sewing class.
Yep.
And the project was to sew pillowcases. And so you were we got the pattern, and the choice was, if, they'll have fabric at school if you just want to do the one, but if you want a matching set or you want a particular something, you're welcome to bring in your own material. And they gave us what they needed, and we went to our local quilt shop, and having that experience for her, that gateway of a 12-year-old, like all the different colors, all the different things. And the shop owner was very lovely, showed her all the different machines she had in the shop. She had a big long arm doing a quilt in the back, putting the batting on the back. So it was a very interesting gateway for her to get experience in there. And now what does she want for the holiday season? She wants a sewing machine.
Oh, she's in. I love it.
Yes.
And you bet, 4-H events, homeschooling, and school events like that. And there are some shops out there that are doing great classes for kids in the summer. And there's just a lot of opportunity for stores in general to have those intro type classes, both for kids and for adults.
Yes. Moving on from there, because I think we're leading the conversation this way as well. Inspiration and motivations. As a creative professional, some days it's got to be hard, right? Like, it's hard sometimes just to get out of bed, get back to the store, be that Energizer bunny, be positive, be happy, whatever's going on, right? Then you have your publication, you have many different things, and you got to find that well of constant inspiration, because you can't put that same item on the cover of the magazine every month. It's got to change. And then yet, how do you where do you go to find that new level of inspiration and motivation?
All sorts of places. One, I try to attend as many trade shows as I can and actually get out in the public. I do research, as I like to call it, when I'm traveling. Personally, when I'm traveling, we go to as many quilt shops and yarn shops as we can, so I can experience firsthand what other retailers are doing. Networking, love to network. At Creative Retailer, we do a monthly roundtable discussion that has been a great group of shop owners And, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it has been a great resource for doing something like that. So find your people, find somebody else. I also have a coffee shop owner that I meet with on a regular basis. We're not selling the same thing, but we understand staffing. We understand working in small towns together. We definitely, we see all sorts of things. So not just like businesses, but like-minded people are great to resource with. I do a lot of reading, Darrin. I am an avid reader. I have some, I probably focus on self-help books and marketing books more than most people. So things like Essentialism from Greg McKeown, awesome book on understanding how to prioritize. Donald Miller, How to Build a Story Brand, great for small businesses. Traction by Gino Wickman for understanding how to get your staff together. I follow podcasters and some of the people out there, the Brandon Burchads, Mel Robbins, Marie Forleo is one of my favorites. These people that are living and breathing it every day in, if you want to say, coaching people to run their businesses better. Personally, I have a lot of other ways that I find, I'm going to say, my personal strength. And I'm going to tell you two things that I'm telling myself right now every day. And these have come from a variety of sources. But one, how can I be 1% better today? Because so often as a business owner, and sometimes just in life, we can be so overwhelmed by all of the tasks that have to, be done. Again, and I have my to-do list right here in front of me for today. Whoa, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get through all of it, but can I get 1% of it done and feel like I've moved the dial? Can I change something? Have I prioritized it correctly so that I'm doing the things that do matter in my business? And the other thing is adding value. For me, it is critical that in my life, I add value to somebody else. Spending the time talking with you, I hope I'm adding value to not only just your podcast, but to anybody who listens. When I work with a customer, can I add value to what they're doing? Because I think that when we do that, it ultimately comes back to us. And to me, that is part of a successful business.
And it's like one key theme I think that I took from listening to you there was investing in yourself. Like all
Yes.
the things, whether it's investing in yourself in reading, investing in yourself by meeting people, investing in yourself by taking time to travel to an exhibition, whether it be a museum exhibition or a business exhibition or a theater play, right? Maybe it's even a high school play. Inspiration come from many different places. But to me, the key message I constantly like to remind people is you have to invest in yourself. Getting people to come to H&H Americas. People say, well, I don't know if I can get away from my shop, or there's an expense. I got to close. I have to spend hotel rooms. Unfortunately, life costs money. Life is not cheap. It doesn't get any cheaper. But then you have to stop and I think say, well, what is the value and how is this investment worth it for me as a human and as my business and for my community?
And Darrin, if we don't stop and work on our business, but we're just working in our businesses, we're not going to get very far. And I can tell you that 2 weeks ago, I spent a weekend in a hotel room. It sounds kind of funny, with a coworker on Creative Retailer. And it's basically the two of us that run the business. And we just seen each other at a trade show, but that does not equate to working on our business. We were working in our business at the trade show, right? So in the hotel room, we had the big sticky notes. I had markers, all sorts of things. We brought the food in, all that kind of stuff. And we just absolutely spent the time brainstorming and looking at the possibilities and walking away with a game plan for both short-term and long-term. And it was such a good feeling. I said to her, man, I need to do this for Hen Chick Studio also, because again, we get so caught up in exactly what we're doing that we don't think about, I'll say, how we should be looking outward, how we should be looking ahead and work on the business.
Well, and that it's funny, you keep leading us to the next kind of questions. Like it's being a person that has multiple businesses, right? You have a family, that's a business, or something to make decisions on. You have a publication business, you have your retail business. Do you have kind of a key philosophy of like how you make decisions?
Oh, absolutely. And back a little bit to earlier, there is an element of I am an idea person. I love jumping on things and I love trying things out, right? So there's a part of me that has that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, if you want to say that, like, hey, the possibility is there. And as Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable. So if I want to do it, I'm going to figure it out, right? I love that word, figure outable. But okay, then there's the analytical side. And you have to know your business. You have to know your numbers. In today's world, we can't be the type of business people that just go, oh, I'm going to try it. Oh, is that going to cost me any money? I don't care. I mean, you can't do that. Flying by the seat of our pants does not work for everything. There are moments when that is appropriate, but there's way more moments when that's not. So you have to understand your financials. That does not mean you have to be a bookkeeper or a CPA. But if you do not know how to do those things, you hire somebody to do them. And I love the numbers. I love the financials, but I have never been my own bookkeeper or CPA. I have both of those things hired out, and I have from day one. That is an employee that I have to have. Because when I say I want to look at the PO, like a POS, but I want to look at a balance sheet or I want to look at a profit and loss statement, I know how to read it. I know how to look at it, all of that. So to me, you can't any longer just say, hey, I'm going to open a store and let's go for it, right? So financials, I have to be able to make decisions as to what is good for me to do and what is good for me to delegate. And having those people that are on my staff, or is it somebody that I hire short term, being able to delegate. Because again, if I actually thought I could do everything I want by myself, I'd be crazy and I'd be dead because I would have worn myself out. I get my energy because I can delegate some of those things to other people. So that's important in my decision-making. When Andrea and I, on this weekend that we were discussing creative retailer, every once in a while she'd say, Heidi, you realize it's just the two of us, right? And it's okay. I'm going to dream. I'm going to dream big. And then we're at some point we have to have the reality discussion of, is it physically possible to do this? Is it something we could do if we short-term hired somebody? Is it a long-term hire? How does that look in there? So those are things that are important for decision-making. And, when I was actually considering buying American Quilt Retailer, now Creative Retailer, I met with a gentleman who has owned many multimedia things, and that be TV as well as newspapers and stuff. And he said to me, Heidi, are you gonna have fun? And I said, yes, I'm gonna have fun. I like this. I get excited about it. I'm passionate. You probably can't tell, Darrin, by my somber, downplaying mood that I love. If I'm excited about something, oh my gosh, you're going to hear my voice raise because I'm going to get physically, vocally excited. My arms are going to start going. And I love that. I love that feeling that there's a fire inside of me. And until I absolutely figure out that it can't be done, don't stop me. Right. And so there's that. I think all of those things play into each other. And I know there's more, decisions. Do I have enough time? But those are just a few of the things that when I'm making business decisions are important to me, because I'm going to have fun while I'm doing this. We're lucky to be in an industry where we get to be creative and we get to help other people be creative.
Well, and I think in my personal experience, as you go around and meet people who particularly work in this segment, the handicrafts, soft crafts, that whole environment, people love what they do. Everyone is just so happy. Like, you really get the genuine feeling they're getting up in the morning not because they have to, but because they want to. They want to experience a new thing. They had that dream and inspiration last night. Maybe it's for a new product. Maybe it's for a new pattern. Maybe it's for a new way to see fabrics or see things come together. It's a bottomless well of all of that creativity, all that creative juices, all of the creative inspiration. And you just see it across the sector from everyone that you come into contact with, whether you're an educator, a content creator, the manufacturer who's making the fabrics. It's just pervasive throughout the business, which is exciting to see because it does make it easier. And when I walk around, people are constantly like, Darrin, you need to come meet this person. And they say, you need to come meet this person. And everyone just gets so excited. It's, you can't help but being excited, even if you're not excited. They just,
Right.
the energy just makes you excited.
Right. And as an entrepreneur, I mean, it doesn't mean that every day doesn't have its challenges, but I always say I have a choice. I have a choice how I'm going to approach that decision, and a choice how I'm going to, tackle that problem. And again, it doesn't mean that my life doesn't have its ups and downs and roller coasters or challenges when it comes to, making sure that customers are coming in the door. Do I have the right events going on? Is my social media, is it correct? Is it reaching the right people? It doesn't mean there aren't those things. It just means that I have a choice and I can think about those choices and make the decision that is best for my business and best for me.
Right. And sometimes those challenges are the inspiration for the next project.
You bet.
There's many musicians who have gone down that road of a heartbreak this, broken up that, death over here, birth over there. I mean, you can go through the litter of country songs and probably find a song about everything.
I was going to say, I just immediately, started thinking of what my son always says about a country song, right? That there's somebody's died, you know what I mean? The dog has run away, whatever those lists of things are. And yet they can bring something out of the ashes to make you enjoy that moment.
Yes. And because it'll help our SEO here, like you got to drop Taylor Swift. But I have younger daughters. Taylor Swift song is always about a boyfriend of the past or some relationship of the past, which makes good stories. And now we also did our part. Now we'll get our search engine optimization here, and we'll get pinged because we said Taylor Swift in this recording.
Yeah. Well, and since you brought up Swift, and you didn't say the Kelsey brothers, but we gotta talk about the Kelsey brothers. I have to say, from a business standpoint, I have thought several times, what is it about that whole situation that is attracting so many people? And I think there is a level of optimism, positivity, and just downright fun that they're all creating for us. And yet, if you haven't watched the Kelsey brother, the Kelsey documentary, which I have and I love, they're real people. And that comes through. All of those things that I just mentioned should be a part of your business as well. And I think that's what is unique about our creative industry, is that people love to know what you're creating and see what you're creating and being a part of that, of inspiration, if you want to call it. And so many people come to us because, oh my gosh, they have a job, they don't like it, or they're in a relationship, they don't like it, or their kids are driving them nuts. They need a break from whatever, right? And so when they walk in our door, it's our job to make them happier than they were when they walked in. And it might be as simple as saying hello and then letting them roam the store for an hour because they just need a break. Or, hey, we provide the space for them to be creative and to spend time. And so anyway, I'm not, but it's just one of those things. When I look at what that little, I'll say, twist between the Kelseys and the Swift family, and anyway, it's just interesting to watch. And I think people are drawn to it because it's fun. It's fun to watch, and they're nice. They seem to really be literally nice people.
Well, and like, as you brought up a book a few moments ago, like some of the things that inspired you, it's a slightly older book now. It's from 2004, I think is about the publication year. It's called Brands That Rock. Mm-hmm. And the author took a marketing perspective look of the Rolling Stones, Elton John, Bon Jovi, Madonna, So when you think of these people as their marketing engines, like people actually get their tattoo of the Rolling Stones symbol and put it on your body, and you're now marketing for them. You'll sleep overnight outdoors to get tickets. At least people used to, right? Like where these bands came from in a time, and the screaming and the money, and like a Grateful Dead fan, right, who would tour the country for years on end watching these bands. There was this marketing inspiration of how, when you think that, what can you do for your business so your fans want to wait outside? That your fans,
Mm,
your friends, your clients, your customers
mm.
are as avid about you as you are about them. And there's that kind of mutual thing. Apple's obviously another great example where for a period, people will line up at stores and they still get very excited when the new product comes out. People are very passionate about that product. And I think it's something to aspire to.
Absolutely. And we do have to engage them. And how, how do we do that? Just yesterday, I was sitting in the morning getting ready and was thinking about what I really wanted my afternoon to be like. And I ended up posting that I have a Facebook group. Okay. So to a really specific part of our clientele. And it was inspiring to see their responses. And I obviously was able to engage them in that conversation. Those are the kinds of things that as business owners, we need to do to rise up, to make our businesses stronger. That doesn't mean that we're constantly giving things away or, have to have everything free or anything like that, but more of a community. How do we make them part of our family? And I'm going to use the word indebted to us, not necessarily in the form of money, but do you know what I mean? Like that like what you're saying is that they're standing at the door waiting to get in because they know that Hen Chick Studio has fun. Like I'm going to be hosting an event in a couple of weeks. During COVID, we started playing bingo and different kinds of games virtually to try to entertain people and keep their minds off of concerns that they had. A lot of people told me afterwards how much they appreciated that communication, that line of communication. And I'm continuing to do those kinds of things because it's a connection. It's how I keep communicating with them.
Yes, we agree. And that's why like this podcast series that we're going into, where we're looking forward to speaking with different parts of the industry and kind of bringing the different threads of the fabric, for a nice little pun, right? And how we stay connected. And to what you said earlier, like listening to it on your time, maybe gaining that little sense of inspiration. As we start to wrap things up here, is there a current project that you're working on, something you want to kind of have listeners think about, something that's in maybe the near future, whether for the publication or for the store, that you want to leave them with a little bit of parting inspiration of saying, I want to look forward, and to kind of keep following along here?
You bet. Well, I'm going to say one of the things that comes to top of mind for Creative Retailer that currently, I mentioned it already, is we're doing a monthly virtual networking event. And to me, that is something that I feel very strongly about, is getting shop owners together. We, of course, try to get together in person, and we've got some things coming up with that. But the roundtable I can actually discuss, and it's something that no matter where you live, you can participate. It doesn't matter what type of a retailer you are or small business owner you are. But if you're looking for ways to expand your networking outside of your community without leaving your home, this is a great way to do it. So that is exciting. When it comes to Hen Chick Studio, I'm going to tell you a secret, and I'm expanding my business.
Wow.
Because I feel I have for 12 years have wanted a ground level retreat center, and knock on wood, it's going to happen here in the next 6 months. And to me, it's something that is because of lots of planning, conversation, and being patient, not forcing it into my business, but knowing that now is the time, that everything is aligning, everything is showing up the way it's supposed to show up. And I have no hesitation that this is the right way to go. So for me, that's super exciting, just to keep that business growing.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to end on those nice words there. I would encourage everyone to also though plan ahead because in May you can meet Heidi in person. She will be at H&H Americas at the Rosemont Exhibition Center, May 1 through 3. And that's at the double-edged component of the virtual meetings with live meetings. There's nothing more fun when you just hear the buzz and you hear people giggling, laughing, hugging, coming
good.
together. And I'm always, particularly when it comes to sourcing products, you just can't see colors. You can't touch a fabric. You can't see exactly how it works. And as much as I did watch a whole lot of YouTube videos and trying to help my daughter to sew, you had to go to the store. Like, how does it loop through is just sometimes hard to see on the camera and to watch in a video versus spending 20 minutes in the store was a much more personally enjoyable experience. And we actually, I think, learned.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you being on the show today, and we will look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thank you, Darrin.
Thank you for listening to the H&H Connect podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked it, please tell a friend. We look forward to seeing you online, and most of all, stay in touch. Follow us on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Look for H&H Americas. We'll see you next month.